Hi guys, and welcome back to yet another video. This time we are delving back into the Game of Thrones theories, and today we look towards the north and a question that has plagued many a reader, because pretty much it's the reason that Jon Snow is killed, at least in the books. In the show it's a little bit more ambiguous. Even though if you look closely, the letter that Jon Snow is reading before he goes out to see the wildling that supposedly knows about where his uncle is, which is all a trap. He's reading the pink letter, but they just don't go into any detail about it. The pink letter, for those of you that don't know, is supposedly a letter sent by Ramsay, well, I was going to call him Ramsay Snow, Ramsay Bolton, and this letter documents Ramsay going on a complete rampage saying, oh, your false king is dead, we killed him after days of battle, we have Mance Rayder, because you didn't actually kill him, you glamoured Rattleshirt and burnt him instead. So we know about that. We know about your lies, and he wants his bride back, aka fake Arya, aka Jane Paul. He wants Reek back, aka Theon Greyjoy. He wants Queen Selyse. He wants Princess Shireen. He wants Melisandre. He wants Mance? He wants Mance Rayder's wife, Val, and their baby. Now, to me, it doesn't make sense why Ramsay would want Val or the baby. It doesn't seem to ring true to me, which is why I don't think that Ramsay wrote the letter. But you know, I'll indulge the argument that he did. So first of all, I mean, why would he lie? He has seen all of these events, and even if some details are a bit off, you know, he's likely to want to exaggerate, to use scare tactics. And also, Jon Snow has received a letter previously from Ramsay Bolton, so he would know if anything was off with the handwriting, which would suggest that it is Ramsay writing this letter. And also, the letter, the reason it's called the pink letter is just because it's sealed with pink wax, which is what the Boltons usually use. However, the thing that doesn't seem to ring quite true about the wax is that it doesn't have the Bolton seal on it. Now, Ramsay is so uptight about being a true-born Lord of Winterfell. He would have access to the seal, which would lead me to think that the person who wrote this did not have access to the seal, which just in my mind seems to suggest it's not Ramsay. And also, in all of Ramsay's previous letters, he's attached a scrap of skin. There's no skin to be found in this letter, so it just doesn't seem to ring quite true in terms of the logistics and the components of the letter. In addition, it just doesn't seem to read like any other of Ramsay's letters. It seems very... it doesn't seem quite as articulate or eloquent. It's very boom, 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 boom. It's very straight to the point, and he keeps referring to Jon Snow as bastard. I don't know. And why would Ramsay care whether Jon has lied to the wildlings? Surely he wouldn't even have... Well, he might have a knowledge of Mance Rayder, but why would he be so concerned about what Jon Snow has said or done? To me, it doesn't make sense. And the fact that he doesn't name any of the people he wants returned to him. He mentions Reek's name, and you want to know the other name he mentions? Mance Rayder. They are the only two names he mentions. He calls everyone else the false king, the false king's wife, his red bitch, his princess, the wildling queen and her babe. It doesn't make sense to me. So, who are other candidates for writing the pink letter? To be fair, I think the next most, well, an obvious candidate would be Stannis. Now, why would Stannis write this type of letter saying that he's lost a battle? I will explain. He wants to provoke Jon to come down and fight. Now, Stannis has offered to make Jon Lord of Winterfell many times by this point, and Jon has always refused, saying, oh, you know, I have to remain loyal to my vows, I can't leave my brothers. This would be a way of trying to provoke him in such a way that he will come down to Winterfell and he will fight. Because he's not going to give Ramsay Bolton, you know, blooming psycho Bolton who flays people for a living. He's not going to give in to his demands. And he's not going to give him a wildling baby. He's not going to give him anything. So this could be a way of Stannis trying to get enough of a reaction out of Jon that he will come down to Winterfell and he will reclaim what's his. Because technically, he was legitimised by Robb before he died. And now that he's been stabbed like half a dozen thousand times by his brothers of the Night Watch, he's been freed from his bonds, technically. In addition, there is... This kind of supports the whole Stannis wants to get a reaction out of Jon. Now, we know from the books that Lord Manderley is only humouring the phrase. He is one of the key components of the Northern plotline The North Remembers. So it is possible that the Manderleys have agreed to fight for the Boltons at the Battle of Winterfell and have then turned on the Boltons and fought with Stannis. Because if we go with how the false kings have been treated previously, they have had their heads taken and they've been paraded around. This letter never mentions anything about Stannis being exhibited in any way. It mentions that he's dead, it doesn't mention anything else. So that could be a suggestion that maybe Stannis did actually win the battle and he's just trying to hide out to get Jon to come down to him. But the only issue with this is then where Stannis has been holed up in Little Crofters village, there is no way to get a raven to the wall because ravens can only go to one certain place. And the two ravens that are where Stannis is, only go to the Dreadfort. So it would be a bit useless sending that type of letter to the Boltons. The logistics is a bit off, so I don't think it's Stannis. Who else has a reason to want to provoke Jon or to genuinely want Winterfell to be reclaimed? If you think Asha Greyjoy, you would be right. Now, for those of you that don't know, Asha is Yara on the TV show. they didn't want people to get confused between Asha and Asha. I mean, it's a different vowel. I'm not going to get confused at all. Nah, mate. So why would Asha want the Boltons dead? Well, in the books, she has been given an account by Theon of what has happened to him, what he has experienced. Now, if I'm an only child, I don't exactly know how the whole sibling dynamic works, but if I was told that my brother had been tortured within an inch of his life, made to live like a dog, and had been, like, aged, just aged way, way, way beyond his years, because he's supposed to have, like, brittle white hair, he's hardly got any teeth left, I would want the Boltons dead. And who does she know is going to get the job done? Potentially the Night's Watch. And if she keeps Stannis sweet by getting him the reinforcements he needs, because she doesn't physically have any in her current situation, it makes sense. And also, she probably wants Theon because, not just because of the fact he's her brother, because in the books she has been married off to another Iron Islands lord, because her father is dead and now Euron Greyjoy has taken the throne after a Kingsmoot. She can't contest that on her own. She can't contest the fact that she is his true heir, because she was at the Kingsmoot, meaning it was technically legal. You know who wasn't at the Kingsmoot? Theon. Balon Greyjoy's true son and heir. So if Yara can get him back to the Iron Islands, she can call for another Kingsmoot, and potentially Theon would be given the throne, so Yara would have more of a chance of being allowed to stay on the pike. I don't know. It seems to make quite a lot of sense. And also, she has received a letter from Bolton as well. She was given a letter which warned the Iron Islanders that if they kept their occupation, more pieces of Theon would be sent to them. So Asha/Yara has seen Ramsay's handwriting, so she could probably replicate it quite easily. But there is, yet again, a problem with logistics. She is with Stannis at this point. She is his captive. So she can't get a raven up to him. She can't get a raven to the wall. I'm sure there's a way around it, but in the distance it would take, it's about 100 leagues, I think, between Winterfell and the wall. I don't know if that would be the case. So we are then given yet another suspect, and that is Melisandre. Now, Melisandre, gotta love her. Crazy red bitch that she is. But it does make sense. Now, this is slightly more convoluted, so stick with me. Melisandre has been appealing to the Red God to send her visions of Azor Ahai. And even in the book she says, I ask for Azor Ahai and he shows me snow. So she may have clocked on to the fact that it's actually Jon Snow that is Azor Ahai. But in order for him to become Azor Ahai, he needs to die. She's come to the conclusion that he has to die. So how to go about this? What more perfect way to get Jon killed but to send him a letter giving all of these really intense demands for him to enrage Jon for him to go and speak to his sworn brothers and say, I am going to Winterfell. I am going to abandon my oath and I'm going to fight with Stannis. It is a perfect surefire way to get him killed, because the brothers already don't like him that much anyway after the treaties he's made with the wildlings. So it's just rubbing salt into the wound. So it's technically a pretty surefire way for Melisandre to make sure that Jon Snow is killed, and then she can resurrect him as Jon Stark or Jon Targaryen or King Jon Darian, whatever he wants to be called. So I don't know, even though she has more of a logistic advantage because she is at the wall. She would just have to send a raven from one point of Castle Black to the steward's keep. It's slightly more logical, I would think. And also she tells Jon to look to the skies just before he receives the red letter. The red letter? I'm mixing the red wedding and the pink letter together, as one does. The pink letter arrives. So it could be Melisandre. She's a very likely candidate, but she is nowhere near as likely as our final candidate, and that is the king beyond the wall himself, Mance Rayder. Now, as I have explained previously, Mance was not actually burned and then shot with an arrow. That was a glamoured rattle shirt, and then to protect him, Melisandre glamours him as Rattleshirt until she reveals to Jon that it is Mance Rayder. The language seems a lot more synonymous with Mance and wildling language, because there is a mention in the pink letter of crows. None of the other characters, apart from those who are wildlings, call the Night's Watch crows, which would lead me to think that this is Mance writing. In addition, the only name he mentions is Mance. Is that a bit of a clue? Just going, Mance, me, yeah. You see me? Yeah, Mance, read me into it. And also, why would Ramsay... I mean, I guess there is some kind of advantage having a wildling queen and baby, but I don't think it makes as much sense as Mance wanting his wife and son to be returned to him. I don't really know why Ramsay would why he would want Selyse and Shireen. I would understand, because why would you want anything to do with the false king to survive? Because people would still rally behind Shireen in a few years if she so desired to start a campaign to reclaim some form of birthright. It just doesn't make... The wildling references just don't make sense to me. I don't know. But going back to Mance, this letter could be... His motivation for writing it could be to enrage Jon to try and get reinforcements to Winterfell. It could also be in revenge for, burning him, for lying to the wildlings. Because that is another thing. Why would Ramsay give a flying toss whether or not Jon Snow's lied to the wildlings? They don't care about the wildlings. You know who does care about the wildlings? Mance bloody Rayder, king beyond the wall, king wildling. it makes more sense for him to be pretty pissed off that the wildlings have been lied to and misdirected. In my opinion, I think it's Mance. However, if some of the events of the letter are true, Mance has been kidnapped. Now, he was sent to Winterfell to try and retrieve fake Arya and bring her to Jon, but it is suggested that he is kidnapped. It's explicitly stated that he's been kidnapped and he's been hung in a cage, and the spearwives he came to Winterfell with have all been flayed and he's now covered in their skins. In that case, where would Mance have gotten the time to write this letter, send it before being put in a cage? Unless he isn't in a cage and he's just skipped his happy way to Mordor. I don't know, but I don't think there's logistically or time-wise enough time for him to get the letter off, especially as he would have had between when fake Arya sounds the alarms and when all the guards start trying to retrieve them. He wouldn't have had anywhere near enough time. Even though I think the person who wrote the pink letter was Mance Rayder. He has the most motivation. But logistically it doesn't make sense. Whereas with Melisandre, logistically it makes sense and the motivation is there. So it's a toss-up between Mance and Melisandre. I don't think it's Ramsay, and I don't think it's Stannis or Asha. I think it's got to be Melisandre or Mance, and they both begin with M. Hey! So they were my thoughts on the pink letter. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm still completely bamboozled. I don't think many people have a clear person in their head who they think wrote the pink letter. There are just so many different people with so many different motivations that it's very difficult to know exactly who was the great mastermind behind it all. But I hope you enjoyed it, guys. See you next time. Bye!